Welcome back to Used to Sew, a podcast about vintage sewing machines, sewing history, and sewing culture in the past and present. I am your producer and co-host, Aradia, daughter of your main host, T.R. Kelly, who is here today to talk to you about the costumes in the new Little House on the Prairie from Netflix show. Mainly. Also a few other movies where we've spotted sewing machines, and our feelings on adaptations from books to film in general. This episode's purpose is mostly to squee about Little House. We were both big fans of the books as little kids, and we're both aware of the current discourse around this adaptation. We've obviously talked about it on the podcast before. We couldn't not watch it, and as textile nerds, we have not been disappointed. Well, we haven't been disappointed hardly at all by anything, but particularly the textiles. I mean, the sets. Dresses, quilts, shirts, hats, jewelry, buildings. Every single detail we look at has intent and purpose. Even when a few details are wrong, as we tell you in the episode, an attempt was still made. This is not going to be a point-for-point episode-by-episode deconstruction of the show. I think we're going to have to really marinate in it and do a limited run special series of podcasts for that level of detail. This is just going to be us enjoying the ride for the first time. If you don't know the books, I think we give enough context for you to enjoy our enjoyment of the conversation. If you haven't watched the show yet and aren't planning to, then you should still be able to enjoy us gasping over costumes. If you are planning to watch it, I think you'll also be able to enjoy this discussion because I don't think there are many meaningful spoilers in this, aside from some basic world building and story themes. But if you are very averse to spoilers, maybe do skip this one just in case and come back after you've watched the show, because you're totally going to watch it, right?
Coming at you from the part of Oregon, USA that is not currently on fire.
It's very nice. There's too much fire, but not here.
Too much fire. The whole east half of the state is pretty much choking on fire. That happened to our side of the state, back in 2020. We were really smashed with fires here. And that's just part of living in a foresty state. Lots of Europe is having this problem too because global warming and climate change and yeah, so your part in all that is to quit buying stuff, quit consuming, do what you can, meow blah, but don't pretend it's not happening. Whatever your natural disaster is in your area, you might just want to put a little more thought towards that. And in your bug out bag, make sure you include sewing stuff. Because if there's anything I've seen about refugee camps, people are tattered.
Yeah.
It's, being able to sew is always good in any kind of situation, but when people are cut off from their normal sources of stuff and things break and need fixed, sewing is a legit prepper skill. I went on a prepper group on Facebook and said, oh yeah, by the way, sewing machine, which turned into a huge thread of, oh yeah, where do you get it needs a belt. All these people that they didn't, I think the belt is like a specialized antique thing, right? So I'm sure there are at least 25 more machines out there with people. And I told them, buy this belt, and I just buy it from this lady because she includes a little instruction manual and all that shit, The Treadle Lady on Etsy. Give a shout out to her.
Nice.
So yeah, sewing is, again, like we talk about on this podcast all the time, is one of those forgotten skills, but that we couldn't have even invented farming if we hadn't figured out how to cover our bits first or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I broke one of the cardinal rules recently by buying new fabric.
New from a store, not a thrift store?
Yeah, I bought it from a seller on Etsy.
Oh, that's right.
Because we're making a fancy curtain for my spouse's office. And he wants to look at, a particular kind of pattern. So we hunted about on Etsy until I found sufficient yardage of a cool pattern. And I bought it not doing a cool quilted, thrifted. We just went ahead and bought some new fabric, but it's a workplace decoration.
It
We're
is
going to splurge on this one thing.
Yes. And you're buying it from an Etsy seller, not, whatever. So, but yeah, you could wait around. You could shop in St. Vinny's for years waiting for the perfect piece of purple paisley to come up. It's not gonna,
Exactly.
Sometimes.
But then to compensate for it, I did also make him a cool tool pouch out of the ribbon-like scraps that came off of some pants that I had to shorten for him.
Ooh.
I had a bunch of strips of fabric, and I just sort of was thinking about all of our ranting and raving on the podcast about quilting and whatnot. So I just sort of was jamming in the sewing room, and I just kind of strip quilted them together until I had an almost perfect repeating pattern, but not quite, and it was almost straight, but not quite. And I used my rotary cutter to make it square, and made a liner out of a different scrap, and then made a pocket liner out of another scrap, and made a tie out of a third scrap of a seam that I had cut out of some old pants and turned into a skirt, but I kept the center seam because I knew I'd need a tie at some point.
God.
Put that on there. And then yesterday he asked me if I could also add a flap that would allow stuff to not fall out when it's rolled up and turned upside down. Because the lining fabric's pretty slippy. It doesn't have a very good friction coefficient. So he was like, can you make me a flap to go over that? Of course, dig back into the scrap basket, find another cool piece of fabric that just happens to be basically the perfect size already. I just have to tweak the edges a little bit.
Isn't that great?
Use my classic Kenmore cam that I'm so fond of to make a nice decorative stitch. It's just, I feel like I balanced the books, I bought him this brand new fabric for the curtain, but then I also made him this intensely scrapped together little tool bag kit thing that he's very excited about. I was like, you don't have to use this if you don't want. I just thought you'd like it. He's like, no, it's mine now. I love it.
I saw his face when you gave it to him. Those big brown eyes got bigger.
I know. So, we're balancing the books over here with consumerism and crafting.
We've also touched upon many times the false idea of perfection.
Right.
And the whole seems like Western world fixation on dualism.
Yeah. Either or thinking.
Either you're good or you're bad. So if I bought one piece of new fabric, I'm bad. Doesn't matter, So no, it's like, think about what you're doing. Like, okay, I bought, I went thrifting last week, and of course found, oh my God, look at this. It's corduroy. Aradia and Brandon love corduroy. And here's a huge roll of it. And it's only $2 because it was at the thrift.
I'm so excited. I have this piece now. This is a big piece. I'm like, I don't even know which project I'm going to make with it, but I have ideas.
6 yards of 45-inch wide wale, 100% cotton fabric in a nice bone color for $2. Okay, win. But right next to it was another piece that I just had to have for another $2, and it's the weirdest deep chocolatey brown with white stripes. I think it's sand-washed rayon. It is going to be very challenging and fun to cut out and sew this stuff. It's like alive. It's so slinky. And that's like 2.5 yards of 60 wide. It's. I want to make a dress out of it. I want to throw it over your head, and it's cool and slinky. And I just love browns, especially this ox. Well, what color even is it? I love it. Cordovan, rich Corinthian leather. So then there was 2 pillowcases, 50 cents a piece. Very high quality cotton. One was in a adorable little house on the prairie sort of print.
So true. So true. Very calico. Much cute.
King size pillowcase, lots of fabric. Not sure what I'm going to make with that yet. Gosh, there's just been so much sewing related and textile related bits and bobs lately that I think this is just going to be a scrap quilt episode. But we do have a block of main topic, and I just did allude to it.
As I promised last week, we are getting into some costume commentary on Little House on the Prairie because we started watching it.
We're 5 episodes into the first season. We let ours, we could just sit there and binge the whole thing, but I kind of like to just have it in chunks so that I can replay it in my mind. And
it's better to take in chunks. Yeah. And there's only 8 episodes, but I did hear that it was renewed.
Yes, season 2.
The first season even finished coming out. They've already renewed it for season 2. So we can anticipate there will be more. But we've only got 3 episodes left, but we've watched 5.
I've been very careful not to read anything with spoilers because I don't want to know.
Spoilers for 100-year-old books.
Well, yeah, but how are they handling it in the show? Because
for sure.
If any of you have watched the new show, this is the reboot of Little House on the Prairie. It's on Netflix here in the U.S. I don't know if you guys can get that in other places. We've talked about Little House on the Prairie before. We've talked about the books and how sewing was represented in the books and the 2 instances where sewing machines are used and mentioned and described in the books. So when this new TV reboot, I guess there isn't really any TV anymore, 8 episodes of season 1 on Netflix, Little House on the Prairie. And I've read a lot of I didn't want to spoil it because, if you watched the 70s TV show, it was very loosely based on the books and really much more of a vehicle for Michael Landon to take his shirt off and cry on cue.
Yeah, I watched some of it, and it did not give me the vibes that I got from the books.
No, the minute the first episode of the show came on, and I was, in my middle school years, and I had loved the book, so I was all excited about this new TV show, and the minute they show Pa with long, feathery 70s hip disco hair and no beard, no, right then that was wrecked. I did love the fact that Laura was doofy and had buck teeth because I was doofy and had buck teeth. So the new show, what are they going to do with it now? Also, the old show, sort of like all the old TV shows back then, the characters always wore the same outfit all the time. And it was always clean. Right? And the new show is not like that. The new show, I think, is much more. I don't want to debate if it's true to the books or the TV show or whatever. What we want to talk about here is the treatment of textiles, clothing, quilts, and yes, we spotted a sewing machine.
I swear they had to have paid the costume department the most of any of the departments. Like, the costumes are so perfect down to the last detail. The wear and tear, the patterning, the sheer weirdness of it that tells you it's period correct because it doesn't even feel real. It's just obviously the writers did a great job. The casting department did a great job, but I swear the costuming department got the biggest budget.
Costuming and set decoration. And I was watching some behind the scenes stuff. They built that town. It's not a set. They actually built the town, 27 little buildings.
I thought it looked awfully real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only did they build the town, they had to leave room to build the post office. Remember how in one episode, the post office appears?
Yeah.
And then building the church. So when they were building the set, they had to build it for, okay, now our characters are going to come in and build more things. We have to, leave room.
Wow. Actual set construction being blocked into the filming schedule.
Yeah.
Oh, what a juggle.
So the fact that they built this whole town, it's not sound sets. Of course, their TV show, they originally built that town too. And then they had to blow it up after the show was done. They had to actually put the land back the way it was because they were filming on a private ranch, not a soundstage. A lot of us have never forgiven them for that. Although they did take the destruction of the town and make it to one of the last episodes.
Well, that's something at least.
And the storyline was something about the railroad. I don't know. Railroad's always a bad guy.
Yeah, something, railroad, fire, explosion, destruction. Sure.
So this version of Little House on the Prairie takes place, it's in 1869. We know this from the book. We know this from the storyline that's going on with the Osage Native American people and how they were the whole plot in this first season is that the white settlers are building on land that isn't really open yet, and the Osage, who are already living there, have been living there a long time. I read a lot about their culture and stuff. So that's one of the tension points in the plot. Man versus government. And, of course, the railroad's got their sticky fingers into it, too. But they've got a sweet little town going there, Independence, Kansas, which is a real town. So, okay, 1869, a lot of the characters have been deeply affected by the recently ended American Civil War. That's another underlying tension theme, is what the war did to people.
Right, the line like chewed up and spit out by the war was used multiple times.
Oh yeah, we have a war orphan character. We have some ex-soldiers with obvious PTSD. We've got financial and a lot of things that happened. Okay, so we're in this town, 1869, shortly after the war. White people are coming in, and they've got a store. They've got a general store. Okay, this is what we're looking at here. And as we've been looking at the characters, you and I were like, oh my God, look at the costumes.
Oh, they're so pretty. And they look lived in. Oh, God,
that's
so great.
The thing. That's the thing. They look real. They look lived in. There's wear, there's dirt, there's mending marks. The hems of the dresses are pretty darn dirty from walking around on the dusty streets.
But they're neatly repaired. They're never torn. They're just worn. They're simply stained and dirty, but like clean and well repaired. And all of the stripes are always perfectly matched in their beautiful sideways precision. And
oh, the fitted bodices, the things that they've done with patterning.
And stuff being like pinned together or tied together to make layers. Like there's so many different ways that the fronts and cuffs and collars and skirts, like they kind of get layered and pieced together, especially depending on profession, right? Like the different kinds of aprons depending on which profession a person is in. And fascinating details where I'm just like, if this was lazy writing, they'd all have like the same generic old-timey outfit, but instead every single person has unique features that I would never have thought of. And it's like, it's period correct, or at least close to it.
And that was a thing. I'm not an expert on American fashion. I do know kind of a bit about the frontier period from fur trade up till Gilded Age because of costumed people for things like that. The girls who haven't yet developed lady figures are wearing very accurate, what are called based on like a Cherokee tear dress is the modern pattern. But basically it's a dress you can make out of just squares and rectangles by tearing the fabric across the grain certain ways. And then it gathers into a waistband. The skirt gathers into a waistband, the top of the bodice. The only real part that is not a square, really, it starts the yoke. You have to cut a circle in that for your neck, right? So these are really accurate. They're made out of accurate fabric. Ma's dresses are much more constructed because Ma wears a corset. Laura doesn't wear a corset yet. She doesn't have boobs.
Right. Even Mary doesn't wear a corset yet because she's still too young.
Yeah, the girls, they show them with their dresses off, but you can see they're under things. And they're wearing a chemise, petticoats, and what's called a binder, which is like a pre-corset. It's like a quilted thing that goes around.
It's like a training bra.
Sort of, yeah. Get you used to having this. Plus, it would be warm. This little quilted binder thing around your torso.
Sure, right, yeah.
But Ma and all the other adult women are wearing corsets, which means the bodices are very fitted. And that's where you see all the neat use of stripes. Oh my gosh, stripes and plaids being utilized for their decorative impact. Skirts are just kind of big puffs of fabric, but the bodice and sleeves is where you can really see some things going on. And like you said, the storekeeper, Emily, her apron is pinned on.
Yeah, it's not tied on, it's pinned on.
It's tied around her waist, but the bib part just pins to her bodice there, and that's...
Yeah, it doesn't hang off of her neck.
Right, I love that.
It pins to the front of the dress.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, really? That's an option?
Okay, Emily's the storekeeper. She's a woman of color, and this is one of the things women could do in the West was keep a store or a boarding house. These are respectable. They're working class, but they're respectable, right? So it's correct that she could own a store. And since it's post-Civil War And we're out in the West. Lots of folks of color have come along. The doctor in the town is a black man.
Right. Dr. Tan, who is in the books.
Is in the books.
Right. Emily is not canonical, but Dr. Tan is.
Dr. Tan is. And I was wondering about the Osage. Now, they're depicted as being quite westernized, quote, quote.
Yeah, and this is, again, something that's completely non-canonical. This is a thing that Netflix decided to add to flesh out the historical context in which the books occur. Because the books mention the Indians occasionally, but like this fully fleshed out, character driven. There's a little girl. They're dealing with their own stuff to do with westward expansion. Like that's all Netflix's addition. I did read that they had an Osage writer on the team, which is probably part of why they feel so real. And again, their costumes. Oh my God, their costumes. They've got the Western fusion costumes and the traditional regalia. Like, oh my God, so cool.
So I was looking into the history of that. Like, how accurate is this depiction of the Osage, even though it wasn't in the book? Like you said, Netflix has chosen to flesh out the story of what was, who was happening there. Not just the family, but what else was happening, the larger context, the Civil War. Okay, so the Osage had been in contact. Their name actually, that's not their name for themselves. It's
of course not
French. It's an Anglicization of French Osage, which meant something else. But they'd been in contact with the French since a long time.
Oh, so that's why the French lady's there. To explain the French connection.
I mean, they're right in the center of what was the Louisiana territory.
Right.
So, and they're on major rivers. So the whole French fur trade thing, they were in contact since the 1700s. And here's another thing. The Osage requested, we got new Indians. Let's send priests.
Right.
So the Protestants and the Catholics both sent their guys, and the Osage are like,
And the Jesuits. The Jesuits were really into doing missionary stuff.
And that's the natives called those guys the Black Robes. And apparently they were well thought of. They were really cool. So the Osage requested that. So we saw in their house, there's a crucifix on the wall.
Right. And they talk positively about the education that they got and wanting to send their daughter off to the mission school.
And this is true for that tribe for that time. They had a good relationship, and the positive parts of European culture did come in. So that's why we're seeing them dressed in this cool combination of things.
And you even see them having like a blended spirituality. You see like they've got aspects of their pre-Christian traditions seamlessly syncretized in with their Christian stuff. It's not an either or, at least in that household that we're, seeing the story of. Yeah.
So their costumes, again, reflect this great blend of basic it looks like Western clothes, because Indians, they'd been wearing a lot of hide, right? The minute you get woven cloth, it's like, oh, hell yeah. So now their basic clothes are woven cloth, but they still have the cuts still reflect tribal shapes. And of course, their jewelry and adornment.
And the ribbons. They've got the ribbon things going on.
And the ribbons. The ribbon was the beginning of ribbon work, which is still part of pan-Indian powwow culture dress today.
Right. But yeah, the jewelry is all very distinct. But they've got the Western hat, because everyone out there is riding a horse across the prairie, and there's just only so many hat designs that anybody wants for that.
Well, and that's how they show Laura being a tomboy. She has a hat, not a sunbonnet.
Right, her hat matches Pa's, whereas Laura's bonnet matches Ma's. There's a very clear, pairing of parent and child there.
And this was very true in the books. This was another point of conflict in the books, was Laura really basically didn't want to be a girl.
Relatable.
It wasn't that she was gay or anything, but she just did not find anything appealing in the traditional, all through all the books, ladylike stuff.
Yeah, social femininity is just hive-inducing.
Sewing and sitting indoors reading, and when she gets older, her love of education and learning, she kind of channels herself into that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the costumes some more. Okay, when we talked about Little House on the Prairie, the books, back a few seasons ago, there was a line in there about Mr. Clancy was going to get he was going to have ready-made shirts. He was going to hire, ready-made shirts, because There's a lot of men out there batching it on their claims, being bachelors on their claims, with no women folk to do their sewing for them. I just remember that line.
Ah, I know which costume you're talking about now.
So now in the news show, we have met Mr. Edwards, and we find out that his wife and daughters are gone, and then we find out later that I think they were lost in the war somehow.
They died of cholera. He went away to the war and came back, and they had all died of cholera.
That's right. They died of cholera.
But yeah, he's living in what can barely be called a shed.
Chicken coop looking.
Like truly, like it is a few planks leaned up against an old tree stump, and that's his house. And like he is bacheloring so hard it hurts.
He's grief bacheloring big time. Yeah.
Yeah. He's just living in a pile of beer bottles, figuratively speaking. It's technically whiskey bottles, but
And he's a good guy who's been misunderstood. The town is kind of not so sure about him because he makes whiskey, and he hangs out with that French woman who runs a tavern or something. Haven't quite figured out her deal yet.
Right, yeah. But the detail with him.
The detail. Okay, so here we see Mr. Edwards. First thing I notice about him is he's kind of unkempt. His hair isn't trimmed, and his clothes are dirty. All right, there, that tells you he's a single guy, probably. Then there's a close-up of him sitting, and you're looking at him from he's sitting, and you're looking at him from down top, and the shoulder seams. The top of the shoulder seams on his shirt have been very crudely hand sewn together with a simple overhand stitch.
Yeah.
He's got no women folk to do his sewing for him.
It was so, like, you pointed it out, and I was like, oh my God, the amount of storytelling in his shoulder seams. Like, the fabric was ratty, too. It looked like, there had not been any attempts to, take the sleeve off and, patch it. It's just ratty and destroyed. And clearly, a thick-fingered man who's never sewn a seam in his life attempted to patch it up or to put the seam back together. It's overhand, it's on top, it's is inside out, outside in, it's so much storytelling just there.
And then the camera switches to the other side and it's the same thing on the other side. So both of his shoulder seams have blown out at one time.
Yeah. And then you look over at Pa, and his clothes are the contemporary equivalent of machine made. They are neat. They are tidy. The stitches are all on the inside. The fabric is all in good working order. It's dirty because he's been working in the same shirt for months and months. There's a certain stain to it, but it is neat and tidy. And the two men are just sitting there, both frontiermen, both living in the same weird world, but their shirts alone just tell the story of which one does and doesn't have any kind of social community safety net around him.
Yeah. And back then when skills were highly gendered, not having someone around to do your sewing is kind of obvious. Think about comedic depictions of bums. Don't they always have a patch sewn on their pants with really big stitches, right? But they had a hole in their pants, and so they did the best they could. You weren't trained for that sort of thing. But anyway, that detail really stuck out to me. Now, let's talk about the sewing machine.
Ah, yes.
Because as I've been looking at all these costumes, I've been looking for the telltale signs of machine stitching, and I haven't seen any yet. Now, we're in 1869.
Do you think all the costumes were actually hand sewn for the show? Obviously contemporarily they were, but...
I watched a little side note here because we have a question. I watched a video on just the costumes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There is a combination of handwork and machine work to put the things together.
Okay, so they expedited some of the less obvious stuff with machines, but the really obvious stitching is generally done by hand.
All the buttonholes are hand done, just like Laura.
Oh, that's so cool. That's lovely. That adds a lot to the authenticity. Okay, cool. Anyway.
So sewing machines are a thing, right?
Right, because you said 1890s, so they exist.
No, 1869.
No, we're 1869. So they exist, but not necessarily in profusion in Independence, Kansas.
Well, it's still a big deal to get one.
Right, exactly. It's not normal that everyone has one.
It's a luxury. It's still, remember Laura said, it's too expensive. I think Ma said, too expensive for regular folks back in the book.
Right.
So they exist. I mean, Singer took out his first patent in 1851.
Right. So about 20 years later, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And they're
18
everywhere.
years
I
later.
mean, you know they exist. There's probably even, I mean, most of these folks, it looks like their clothes they're wearing, they've sewn themselves. So I haven't seen any machine stitching. I need to rewatch and look at the rich lady's stuff and see if there's machine stitching on her stuff.
Oh, God. We'll have to talk about her at some point later. But for now, the machine.
For now, we're in Ms. Emily's general store. And the store is small, but it's got a lot of stuff. There were bolts of calico.
So many bolts of calico. It's like a whole shelf just devoted to lovely, lovely colors.
Yes. And yeah, just like Laura had described in her book. And there were little spools and
all the ribbons.
It wasn't just a dry goods store, though. That seems like that stuff was on one wall and there was like a back room that people were bringing things out of. But
the town's not big enough for dry goods versus everything
not
else.
Yet.
There is one store and
right,
that's it.
Right. So it's one of those stores, like a lot of old stores, where there's two front windows with a recessed door in the middle. That's like the classic way to build stores back then. And you would put things in the windows that you wanted people to see. Well, we're inside the store, and the storekeeper is talking to a customer.
No, it's to the boy. It's to the kid that works there.
Yeah.
But either way, it doesn't matter.
Behind his elbow, in that front window, we see a sewing machine. And we see it from the back because it's facing out, right? Yay.
Distinctive lines, but it's out of focus, but you can still tell. I
said, radio. And she hits stop. And we go back. Okay. Now stop. What is it? And is it correct to the time period?
So we look at it, and it's a Singer. It says Singer so that it's positioned that if you're walking by on the street, you would read Singer, right? It's backwards to us because we're inside the store.
The whole Singer has it's molded into the irons. We see that. We see right above the treadle pedal.
Yeah, so it's literally a Singer. It's not a sewing machine that looks like a Singer. It is a Singer.
It says Singer.
Definitively.
Okay, so, and we're looking at it from behind, but it's got distinctive field marks. If you know your old Singers, you know that the tension sticking off of the faceplate is a 15 class. No ifs, ands, or buts. Oh, and it has a round inspection cover on the back of the arm.
Oh, and it had a belt in it, so it was set up correctly.
Yes. Okay, so we see that it's got a face-mounted tension and a rear inspection plate that's round. This means it is definitely a 15 class machine. It's all belted up. It's ready to go. The 15 class was not invented until 1895. Oops.
Anachronism, and not a small anachronism, like a generation-long anachronism.
So, somebody said, oh, it'd be great if we had an old Singer in the window. And somebody went and got an old Singer because they're all old Singers, right? It's a 1530 in a 7-drawer cabinet. That's not around in 1869. What was around for Singer in 1869 was, I don't even think they were building high arms yet. I think we're still on the Model 12. Excuse me while I look that up.
It was so funny, too. When I looked at it, I was just like, something about this feels too modern.
You do it.
I'm not good with this stuff yet. It's just entirely a gut reaction, but it just looked like too modern of lines for the period. I'm like, that feels more turn of the century. And I know we're not at the turn of the century, purely on vibes.
But you've been around enough.
My subconscious is getting it a little bit.
The shape of the body is the same as Exuberant.
Right.
The way the pillar curves down and stuff. And that's like, that's...
Yeah, exactly. That feels like there should be a 19 in its birth date, you know?
Yeah, I'm going to look.
It feels 19-y.
I knew, like, wait, 15, I think, okay, it is max.
But I will give them credit for having it be a belted up Singer at all. And technically it was from at least the 19th century, even if it was, 20 years out of time.
And, I bet I'm one of 12 people that would ever even notice that.
1,200 more like. Do you have any idea the kind of people that like Little House on the Prairie?
And sewing machines?
Yeah, I would assume that the overlap is bigger than in the general population.
Well, I'd like to hope so. But I mean, it just flashed by in the background there. And then are we going to see it again?
If we don't get a good scene of that thing getting used, I will be sad. They have it there in the window. It was a big scene for Laura's experience. Maybe it won't be in this season. Maybe we'll have to wait for season 2 or something. But like, I sure hope it's in the plans.
Well, now, that's another weird thing. This is 1869. Laura is, in the books, probably only 4 or 5. In this TV show, she's 8 or 9.
She's definitely coming up on 10 for sure.
And this is where they did the sewing was in the town of... Yeah, it was much later.
Yeah, but like, whatever.
She's not going to sew on
just
this.
saying.
No. I wish she would, though.
No, but maybe Miss Emily will sew on it. Like,
maybe somebody will come in to buy it for their sweetie.
Yeah, or maybe she'll hire someone else and we can have a character of the week thing who's the person that runs the sewing machine. I don't know. It was there. It would be sad if it wasn't used. It's Chekhov's sewing machine.
Oh.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh. But, back to costumes and watching this episode on the costumes, they had Osage people costuming Osage people with correct things. So they were actually showing that.
Right. Yeah.
And then people getting laced into corsets and the characters just going off about how awesome their clothes were. And I can't remember if it was Caroline's character or Laura's saying, I looked at all these layers and thought it was going to be hot, but it's not. You know, their clothes were much more practical than we might think.
Right. Because if it's breezy and layered, then actually you have a much different atmosphere next to your skin than if you're like, zipped into something.
And every character's clothes were made just for them, of course. Even their shoes were made for them.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so authentic.
Oh, and okay, let's talk about the quilts.
Oh, yes, the quilts. Oh, my God. Every time there's a quilt, Mama and I were doing the Leonardo DiCaprio quilt.
So the first time we see quilts is, I think it's in the river crossing scene, and there's some quilts tied in the back of the wagon.
The very first shot of what it's like in the wagon included a quilt.
Yeah.
It's like if we took a shot every time that we saw a quilt, we would have been blackout drunk by the end of the first episode.
There's, I think, at least 3 separate quilts that I've noticed.
At least, yeah.
They look really authentic, and I'm sure that they had to consult quilters for this. I mean, sewing machine people, okay, whatever, but quilters... I want to hear from quilters. I think these look like authentic fabrics from that era, the colors and patterns. And the actual blocks themselves are quite simple. They're artistic, but they're not complicated. It's all squares and triangles, right? None of this rotary cut diamond stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about how quilts were used as storytelling devices in that period. I can't imagine that was a detail that this costuming department overlooked,
And they also, in the video about the costumes, were talking about they were trying to approach fabric like it would be remade. So, for instance, Laura has a belt made out of the same stuff as Pa's shirt, like it's showing things being moved through the fabric cycle, which I think is really cool. The details on the textile, I'm just blown away. I really am. After watching the 70s show and all the phony, nobody ever changes their clothes. Oh, that's another thing. In this show, okay, in the books, I think the girls are described as having a daily dress, a worn out one for like playing and wading in the river, and then a Sunday dress, maybe.
That sounds right. A hardworking dress, a regular daily dress, and a fancy day dress.
And it seems like I think the girls seem to have about 5 outfits, which seems more realistic to me. But they're also shown as being, once Pa has spent all their money to get them out there to Kansas, they have nothing. They're very, very poor. Didn't you notice that Ma's wedding ring was whittled out of wood or something?
I did. At one point, there's this long, lingering shot of her hand, and I'm like, that is not glinting in the candlelight like gold. That looks like it was whittled out of wood.
Yeah.
Because at one point, she literally tells him like he should consider selling the fiddle. So I figured the wedding rings are on the table if the fiddle is being talked about,
Yeah, they sold their books. They sold everything because, this version of the show is also showing Pa as he really was, which is a creative, excitable guy who doesn't always make the best financial decisions.
Kind of a dumbass. Easy to idolize if you're a young girl, but kind of a dumbass if you're an adult.
Textiles and stuff aside, the character development and storylines are really good.
And the Osage outfits too. I mean, like storytelling there.
Yes.
The storytelling in the writing, but the storytelling through the costuming and the house. Like that also tells a story, right? You've got like Mr. Edwards' little shack. You've got the Ingalls' log cabin. You've got Fancy Lady's fancy
Victorian house.
Then you've got the westernized Osage who have like more of like almost like a Southwest style.
The family is the Mitchells. This Osage family is the Mitchells.
Yeah, the Mitchells. Thank you. Yeah, I can't remember. Jones is the town lady.
Oh, Gemma James is the fancy town lady.
So she has a very Victorian house.
Yes.
And then the Mitchells have like, I don't even know what that style is, but it's not Victorian, whatever their deal is.
And this is the thing. I don't think Gemma James's house is accurate for 1869 either. I need to look at that. It's looking more 1880s. But anyway, the Mitchell's house, the unusual architecture there, that's French bayou roof lines. This is another French influence.
Oh, okay. That's why I didn't recognize
Yeah,
it.
this is a French influence thing. This is the kind of houses you would find down in Louisiana at the time.
Okay. And we haven't even seen what the traditional indigenous community looks like. I'm assuming at some point we're going to end up wandering in there.
Oh, yeah.
Because we saw the people in the traditional garb coming home from their hunt. So I'm assuming at some point we're going to end up going to where their settlement is. But
the Mitchells are trying to blend with the settlers and be friends.
They're trying to assimilate. The dude basically said it.
Because Mr. Mitchell says, look, they're going to come anyway. Let's try to just make it work out, right? He's really cool. But then you've got this other side, including Mr. Mitchell's wife, who are not really happy about this. And you see the tension in the costumes. You see the westernized costumes, and you see people sticking to their traditional stuff, which, again, is super accurate because they've got actual people from the tribe. The Osage is a very viable nation to this day.
I mean, only like 30 years. Well, no, from this, it's more like 60 years later. They're going to be like some of the richest people in the world briefly when they figure out they've got oil there. And then they're all going to get like married and murdered into losing it again. Like it's a very... The Osage U.S. government white people interactions never stop being interesting.
No. They got moved from Kansas, where they are in the show, to Oklahoma, and that's where the oil is.
Oh, yeah, right. I have a hard time with all that middle of the country stuff.
It's all flat.
Where the states are now and where the states were then.
Yeah.
I'm very fuzzy on it.
Yeah, the Osage,
quote unquote, states.
Were in southeast Kansas. Today, their reserve is in northern Oklahoma. No, not very far away. They're just one state line. I'd like to just talk about another sewing machine and movie that I saw about a month ago, and I don't think I ever got to talk about it here. Sewing machines and movies.
Oh, yeah?
This is from a 1982 movie called The Day After, which was about nuclear war. And it was so realistic. It scared a whole generation of people. It actually influenced President Reagan and Soviet guy Mikhail Gorbachev to work on a treaty.
Well, that's a pretty good movie then.
It was a very impactful movie. It was very impactful. The storyline was really good. All the characters were amazing. The special effects were 1982, but really good. But I'm watching it again. Remember we did that thing about the Brazilian accident and tried to get people to...
Oh, yeah. You said you watched that weird movie.
Identify those sewing machines. So I was off on the nuclear thing, and I was like, Day After, I want to see a piece of that. I want to see the attack scene. Well, the attack scene unfolds in a lot of different venues, and one of which is a farmhouse. Two little kids in front of the TV. They're like 8, 9 years old, and they're sitting there on the floor with their elbows, and they're watching TV, talking about nuclear strikes. Behind them is a sewing machine. So this is taking place where the missile silos are, so Midwest somewhere. Just like Little House on the Prairie, right? It's the same kind of deal. So it's an old farmhouse, and the couch and everything is just super 1960s looking middle America. But behind there is very clearly a 201 in the Art Deco cabinet. Okay, that would have been about 25 or 30 years old so it fits in the context. It was a good choice.
Yeah.
Who made the choice to put that in there? It's clearly a 201 in an Art Deco cabinet in a living room in a farmhouse with kids watching nuclear shit on TV. Incoming missiles. And they're looking at it. Seems like they're watching it like, is this a cartoon? And it's just the briefest shot. Set decorator. Who decided to put that there? It's perfect. It's perfect. What does it say? It says domestic, self-reliant. Since it's older, this whole farm family is being depicted as the dad doesn't, this is his farm. He doesn't want to leave, this and that, the other thing. But
storytelling through set design.
Brief shot of a sewing machine. Of all the things, what should we put in the front room here? What would be there? I mean, they had everything right. The shapes of the picture frames on the wall, the sort of brown carpet, even the TV the kids were watching was this older console. For 1982, was still an older. They were showing it as the farmhouse was furnished like 1965 or something. But I just thought that was brilliant. That was brilliant. I would love to be a set decorator. I worked in costuming for a while, but I was just a stitcher. I didn't design anything. I just people would hand me stuff and go, sew this. Okay.
Right. Actually, thinking through all the implications and design choices, that's a whole other level.
My housemate at the time was the costume designer, right? And watching her do renderings of what does this character look like? Oh my gosh. So there's where we get Mr. Edwards. What does Mr. Edwards look like? Well, he's a veteran of the Civil War with PTSD and his family's dead. How can we show that in his costume? We can show him he hasn't had a haircut, his clothes are poorly mended. Even beyond the actor, what can we tell about the character by their clothes? Think of the women. Okay, Gemma James, the rich lady, of course, has the latest fashions. Ma has a basic work dress. Look at Emily, the storekeeper. She's a woman of color. She has to look just that much better to be taken seriously.
Right. Twice as nice looking to get half as much respect, that kind of deal.
Exactly. Her dress is beautiful. Amazing stripe work, in the bodice and stuff.
Yeah, number of frills also seems to be kind of a thing too. Gemma James is frilled to the nines, whereas Ma has a single solitary frill running around her bodice. And yeah, Emily has a few more, but not nearly as frothy as Gemma.
She has, I think, Emily's choice of fabric. I mean, her dress lines are practical, but her choice of fabric is a little prettier than a basic farm dress would be.
Yeah. Which makes sense because she runs the store.
Yeah.
So
you got to wear your model garments. Hey, I made this on that sewing machine that hasn't been invented yet.
Right. This time-traveling sewing machine.
Oh, gosh. Which reminds me of another. You said time travel? Okay, here's another costume movie that actually plays on the anachronism of style. Okay, the movie is called Somewhere in Time, and it's a playwright in the 1970s who falls in love with an actress from 1912, and he is just determined to get back there. So somehow he folds time and space, but he has to get the right clothes. Everything has to be set. So he gets his hat, shoes, suit, puts the right money in the pockets, the right pocket watch, lays down on his bed, does the thing, wakes up in 1912, goes out, and he's exploring, oh my God. And people just keep looking at him funny. He doesn't know why. Farther on in the movie, he's talking to another character. Why do people keep looking at him? Oh, your suit. It's 10 years out of date.
Right.
So him, the guy in the 70s, is like, oh, I need some old-timey clothes. Without really researching, I'm going to an upper-class place in 1912. What should I wear? Right. Now, they didn't have the internet when this guy is supposedly happening, but your clothes, like we've mentioned, my favorite way to talk about clothes is that they're your social vocabulary. So he walked into a party saying ain't, can't, done,
Right. Yeah.
Obviously not one of us, Muffy.
And like you really saw that in the Gemma James
Oh,
scenes,
yeah.
all of them, because she has so many ruffles and fluffs and all the nice things. You get to go to her house and she's just got china pouring out of her ears and like,
Did you notice all the other women except Ma were dressed up? Why did Gemma James invite Ma? Did you figure that out? She wants her to be a teacher in the school. She's including her, like, you're going to be our teacher, right? And so she's including her in this.
Right, yeah. Pressuring her into it.
Foo-foo society, but she won't let the woman of color in. And then, Ma does the right thing and just leaves.
Right, which is very anachronistic to what we know of Caroline.
Well,
but whatever.
Caroline, they start off with her being kind of funky.
Yeah, they're showing her as having growth. That's true. They're showing it as like she's had a good relationship with Emily. And so it's less about general principle and more about like, but I like her.
As her and Mrs. Mitchell.
I think she also wants a friend in that room too, because that room is
God.
cold.
Yeah, it's horrible.
All those women in their fancy little shawls and they're looking down whenever the top hen clucks at them. And ugh.
Yes, because it's a top hen situation and they want to be in the flock, so they're not going to stick up. But Ma, there she is. Her hair's a little ruffled. It's not quite perfect. And her dress is obviously just her regular dress. I think she has a nice shawl on, but she's obviously underdressed for the other 8 or 9 women that are sitting there.
Yeah. And we also see the girls getting paired off. Same deal, right? The twins have like these beautiful matching Sunday dresses, whereas, Mary's in the nicest thing she can manage, but Laura's just,
Laura doesn't care. Laura's wearing her hat. But the girls, and then Mary asks the girls, where did you get all these clothes? Because they have huge boxes of dress-up clothes.
Oh, yeah. The dress-up clothes scene, just like trunks of furs and pearls.
Yes,
and
I think that is from the book, too. I think there was a scene
that's
in there.
Nellie Olson that I think has like fancy furs to play with or whatever. But yeah. And what was their explanation for that? Like their dad or their grandpa like sends them stuff from back east or something?
I don't remember. What the explanation was.
They had some explanation for it that just spoke of obscene wealth back east.
Yeah. Since all of these people are from somewhere else, right? So they're trying to get their little social pecking order going in this town. And even though Emily is very impeccably dressed like the rest of the upper class ladies, she's a woman of color. And they make the excuse that, this is only for married women.
I loved when that other woman was like, but wait, I'm not married. And then Gemma James is like, but you're from a respectable family.
Right. So even wearing the right clothes didn't get Emily into the party.
She had the really nice bonnet. Her hair, every single hair was perfectly in place. Like, yeah.
That actress is beautiful. She's just
my God.
beautiful. All the people in this show.
Poised.
Yeah.
So poised.
And you can see in her face, the to this day, there's that mask that people put on to hide their pain and not show. It's like the people they've picked for this show are amazing. Oh, and check this out. Pa's British.
Really?
You see an interview with the actor? He's British. So he's putting on an American accent for the show.
Wow. Nice.
That's funny as hell.
And he has a beard.
And he does have a beard.
There's canonical correctness. Because it's like some stuff can be canonically malleable. Some stuff you can just make up, or not make up, but insert in because it fits in a hole. Other stuff you need to leave the way it was in the books because it's important. And Laura's sense memory of her dad's scritchy beard
is big.
You can't fuck with that. You need to leave that.
And there's a part in there, in the last episode where he did the thing where he made his hair stand up and be scary. That's in the book. So there's I think that this series is more based on the book than the TV series of the 70s was.
Definitely.
But we're up against, oh my gosh. Okay, so of course I've joined several Facebook groups about Netflix Little House on the Prairie. And I pointed out the sewing machine anachronism with a screenshot. And some people are like, oh, good catch. I'm really, because I prefaced it by not putting anything down, but just, hey, guys, I got this cool.
Right. I spotted an anachronism. Let's share.
I look for, continuity things and because I have a hard time looking at people. And some lady just got super offended oh, this group is just getting so negative. Can't you do something better with your life than nitpick and da-da-da-da-da? Well, that lady got booted because she was the one being negative.
Because
right?
That's ridiculous. We criticize things when we love them. Come on.
I started off with saying sewing machines are my special interest. I really couched it well. But this lady went off. But then some other people are like, oh, good catch. Oh, yeah, I want to go rewatch that. And somebody else pointed out that maybe some of the colors in the calicos on the wall weren't correct. We're out there.
Yeah. No, there's a definite difference between critiquing because special interest and being a negative Nancy about it. Is a distinct flavor difference, and anyone with a brain should be able to tell.
I just pointed out, look, I was so happy to even see a sewing machine in the show, but I can't, say, oh, wow, this is a show about the Great Depression and there's a 1956 Chevy. No, that's not working.
Right.
Yeah. So that was our first dive into the new Little House on the Prairie, because we do have some threads of continuity here. And since we talked about the books, we had to watch the show because.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it very much. I'm totally looking forward to watching the last 3 episodes with you and talking more about it. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to rewatch the show with the sound off so that we can just really soak in the costumes and other set pieces without all that, mouth noises in the way.
Well, then I need to watch the show with subtitles because I miss half the dialogue.
Also that, yeah.
And I know you don't like that because you're a reader.
My hyperlexia is such a pain in the ass sometimes.
So, folks, do you have any examples of sewing machines in movies or TV? The briefest shot, whatever you've got. We've got a few now, and we still haven't got to Fiddler on the Roof, because that's the stage play version, has a whole song and stuff about sewing machines, and lots of people have analyzed what machine that could be, probably a Frister and Rossmann, because it is Europe. So, yeah, it's a special interest here. And if you have any suggestions of movies that show sewing machines, I have to rewatch October Sky, which is the movie about the kids who started launching rockets in the 50s after Sputnik. But in there, if I remember right, his teacher, he goes to her house, and just for the briefest minute, you can see a featherweight on the table. So I need to watch that. We talked about the Patsy Cline movie. So if you have any more, send them in to us. Use the sew@gmail.com. It's been fun talking to you all again about our latest special interest obsession. And when you sit down in your rocking chair next to your kerosene lamp, with your dog at your feet, it's hard to stay threaded, but you can do it.
And there you have it, the first half of our excited watching of the new adaptation of Little House on the Prairie on Netflix. We were very excited about the costuming and set designs, as well as the larger historical context setting, and I'm already firmly convinced that we're going to have to do some sort of Little House spoilers limited run of episodes where we can really get into every single detail that we've noticed about this adaptation. But that will take time, as we have to really soak in this first watch and then think about it before setting aside the right amount of creative energy to do justice to that conversation. It will happen when it happens, which will probably be before season 2 comes out. We know that that's already been renewed, so that's cool. I hope you had as much fun as we did in discovering that the Singer sewing machine prop was slightly anachronistic. It really is an inconsequential detail that just gave us dopamine to nail down, Talking about adaptations from books to film is a tricky space, as it is very hard not to spiral into negativity when your favorite detail was snubbed. I dealt with this very, very intensely during the adaptation of the Wheel of Time books by Amazon. Ask me about it sometime if you want to really settle into a long session of wailing and gnashing of teeth. I think Mom and I can have a balanced and fun time with this one, though, if we do decide to make a full 8 episodes of content about it, like I hope we will. We also talked about sewing as a prepper skill and a couple of other movies that have come to mind with brief yet insightful storytelling through sewing technology. Next week, we are going to talk about the last 3 episodes of Little House that we watched, and some other topic as well, probably. As a reminder, we are unofficially sponsored by Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine. You can reach them at srvsew@gmail.com. Follow us on social media and YouTube, and you can best support us by sharing the podcast with your friends. You can even get ad-free episodes by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/used2sew. Thank you for listening to us here at Used to Sew. We always welcome your additions, corrections, and feedback in general. Please reach out to us via email at usedtosew@gmail.com. Used to Sew is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.